Good morning.
All right. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. So we're going to begin this discussion group by going over our SMART goals. So does everyone have those pulled up?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
All right. Number 1 for dinner meals, practice breathing before eating and experiment with chewing food more. We marked that as that's not a SMART goal. Is that correct?
Correct.
No. That's correct.
All right. And what's an alternative that we all can think of to make that a SMART goal?
I think it needs to be timely. So maybe say this week when I sit down to meals at dinner, just giving it a time frame. I think that would make it smart.
Yeah, like do 1 week.
I think it also needs to be more specific. It just says breathing practice, but it could be like 5 minutes of meditative breathing or something like that, where it's a specific practice and time.
I agree.
Oh, that's good. And then what about? And what
Sorry,
about?
I'm just typing it in. I'm the note taker, so I'm just putting it in.
Perfect. So maybe, okay, so the meditative breathing, 5 minutes prior, 4 or 5 minutes prior to every dinner. And then the experiment with chewing food more. How would we make that more specific? Like say chew each mouthful 20 times or something?
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
Could also even be something like practicing mindfulness while chewing to be more aware. But it might not be as specific as like 20 bites is very specific. So that would definitely fit.
Okay, perfect. And then the next one we said was SMART. This week I will work out on Monday at 5 p.m. and Wednesday at 5 p.m. for 45 minutes and bring my exercise clothes with me. The next one we said was SMART also. Read 10 to 15 pages of her religion book before bed every night this week. And we did talk about how that was, even though she didn't specify the religion book, she did specify every night this week. So, and she did specify how many pages. So that was good. All right.
Very briefly, we should probably introduce ourselves because we forgot to do that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So I'm Camilla Adams. This week, I'll be the discussion leader to make sure that everyone has a chance to talk.
I'm Heather Clements, and I'm going to be the reporter for this week.
I am Lorna Coons, and I am the timekeeper for this week.
Perfect. And we have Connor Perkins in our group also. He should be jumping on shortly. We're just working on timing with him. So let's see. All right. So then we'll go to the next one. Monday through Thursday for breakfast, I will eat fruit. And we figure that is not SMART. So I think we could make it more SMART.
I think it could be more
pretty
specific.
Close, just be specific. Yeah.
Yeah, like I will eat 1 serving of fruit with breakfast every morning. Or it could even be a very specific breakfast too. I will eat 1 serving of fruit with eggs every morning, or something that's very specific. Just saying fruit is not very specific.
And maybe, and is it just going to end at Monday through Thursday, like just for this 1 week, or?
Yeah, just for this week, it looks like, at least.
For this week.
So
okay.
Monday through Thursday, I will eat 1 serving of fruit with breakfast every morning.
Good. All right. And then time journal. I don't know what that means. So we're kind of at the.
That one's definitely not SMART. I think it's supposed to mean that they are journaling. They're going to spend time journaling is my translation of that.
Right. I think that we could make it more specific, like selecting a time of day that they're going to be doing it, as well as an amount of time that they're going to be journaling.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe I'm going to spend 20 minutes every morning this week.
We could even make it even more specific. Every morning upon waking up, like it's very specific. Right when they wake up, they're doing their journal.
Perfect. I love it.
Perfect. Okay, and then number 6, front load homework at the beginning of week, so no homework on weekends. All right, so I will do my homework Monday through Thursday of every week for, I don't know. Do you do like an hour or just until it's completed? How would you make that the most smart, I guess?
I think it would make sense to set a time limit, and I think it would make sense to set a time that they're starting. So I will do homework upon arriving, or as soon as I arrive home from school, for 1 hour every day, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Perfect. I think the only other way that we can make it more specific was if we had like a breakdown of their actual assignments, something like that. Then we could say, I'm going to dedicate this much time to this assignment, and so on and so forth. But because we don't have that information, being a little bit vague is okay.
Okay. So I will do my homework as soon as I arrive home from school, Monday through Thursday of every week. That's good. Okay, in Russian.
A specific amount of time.
Oh, like for the duration. Oh,
yeah, for maybe you could say an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours every night.
Yeah, for 2 hours every night.
2 hours. Okay, so I will do homework as soon as I arrive home from school for 2 hours per night, Monday through Thursday of every week.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, the next one, in Russian, do writing 3 pages and watch 2 movies with both subtitles to offset studying. Okay, so
Written a little funny.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I don't think you're gonna be successful.
So I will write 3 pages and watch 2 movies in Russian or with Russian subtitles once every week.
That works.
All right, cut his Powerade orange drink consumption down to 12 ounces daily for the next week and replace the rest of these sugary beverage servings with water. We did say that was smart. On Saturday and Sunday, she will complete her OT exercises in the morning before 11 a.m. She will do them on the commercial breaks while watching TV, and will do leg stretches, squats, and hand exercises prescribed to her by her specialist. She will pull out the container with all her exercise equipment on the night before and have it sitting where she will perform the exercises the next day. And we did say that was smart.
I love the specificity of that whole goal.
Yeah, that was good. During commercial breaks. All right. Turn off phone entirely before beginning to study. And we said that was not smart. So I think to make that more smart, we could say turn off her phone we could take the example before where she was studying 2 hours daily. So we could say turn off her phone for the 2 hours she is studying after school every day.
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So that table is complete, and Heather, you will be able to save that and submit it for us?
I will, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right.
So far, that has taken us about 8 minutes or so.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll go into the appreciative inquiry questions then. So why is it so difficult to design a SMART goal?
I think it's pretty difficult just because it has to be so specific, and a lot of times you don't want to make goals that specific, or you feel like it's making it more complicated. Sometimes it's like,
yeah,
especially for certain people or certain things, it's easier to just say, I want to do this, but I don't really know how I'm going to do it. And I just know that this is my goal. And for some people that works well, and for others, it needs to be more of a specific goal to really stick to it.
Yeah.
I think that having a clear design of one can be a little complicating, especially if you're not really sure how to design one.
Yeah.
I think that it's difficult to for people to think of their life in that specific of a manner. Like when we talk about the things that we do during the week, we're generally pretty vague about it. And so planning specific amounts of time, maybe we're not sure how long the task will take or how much time we need to dedicate to it. And so thinking that specifically is challenging for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like not knowing ahead of time. Well, I don't even know how long it would take to do that. That's true.
Another thing that makes SMART goals difficult as well is people don't tend to make them very achievable. They tend to have like they want to go all or nothing with a lot of things. So it's like, you know, that I'm going to lose 50 pounds in 2 months kind of a mentality instead of like small, manageable, very achievable goals that you're not going to want to drop because they're easy to maintain. But a lot of times people just like go all in, but then it's not something you can keep up. So then they just don't make a goal because they think they have to go extreme with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So then how do you relate to SMART goals? I think personally for me, one of my VIA strengths is perspective. And so I do have the ability to kind of see like this bigger picture and break it down into smaller things. And that's how I personally relate to SMART goals. Like, okay, I can see that this is what I want to have happen, but I can also see that this, and this need to happen for that to be the case, you know? So I do kind of relate to SMART goals in that way, just because I see that smaller things build into bigger things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say also I relate to them in the sense that I see the benefit in them and I have used them myself, and I can see that they are a way to actually achieve something. Do I always want to do it? No, but I know that I can absolutely relate to the process and how it works.
So that brings up sorry, go ahead, Heather.
I was just going to say, I agree with that. And I relate to them in that when I notice when I'm not using SMART goals. So when I'm setting up my week or making a plan for something, if I'm just very vague, then I find that the time passes by and suddenly I haven't accomplished anything. Whereas if I'm using SMART goals throughout the process, then I feel like I get much more satisfaction of like checking things off and being like, okay, I am accomplishing something. I am moving forward in the process.
That's great. So that kind of puts us into the next question, but do you resist that? Both of you said you can see the value in it. So do you like actively resist it, or is it just something you're trying to like create this new behavior that just doesn't come naturally?
I find that I tend to not want to use them if I don't feel like I have enough information. So I talk about sometimes that fear comes from a lack of understanding. And so if I am hesitant on creating a SMART goal around something, I try to find as many details about the process as I can, and so that I can like step into that and be comfortable with it rather than continuing to resist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, nice.
I feel like sometimes it just depends on what my goal is. Sometimes I feel like having something so specific set out almost at times can make it seem like it's more stress, because I'm like, well, I have this very specific thing now that I planned and I said I'm going to do it. And then sometimes for me, it can feel like it's actually more stressful, like it's become another chore. But sometimes when it's not totally specific and I know I have a little bit of wiggle room, it seems less stressful. So it just depends, because sometimes I feel like they work really well depending on what my goal is. And other times I feel like it's just making it harder for me to stick to it. I don't know. I guess I'm just a kind of either way person.
Oh, I was on mute.
I was like, I didn't hear you.
Oh, that's so funny. No, I was saying, because you want to check off the boxes. Like, that's what you want to do. Once you've set the SMART goals, you want to check off those boxes. And sometimes it requires a little bit of leniency and giving yourself some grace to shift and change and view it from a different perspective.
Yeah, that's true. I think I'm the same way. I think there are times when I resist that much detail just because I'm like, whatever, that's unnecessary. You know, I got this. But then other times when it's maybe a more difficult goal, something that I've resisted in the past, that I just have to have that very specific, time frame and all of that works better. So yeah, it's very dependent on the goal. So do you think that makes it more achievable for you if it's the more smart it is, or for other people, not necessarily just for us, but
I think for other people, yeah. I think having it as straight to the point and as like set as a SMART goal as possible, the more that they're likely to see it as just one small thing that they're committing to. And then over time it becomes just habitual, and then it's just behavior change at that point because it's something that they've already been doing and they see that they can do it, and it's something they can sustain for a long time. And
I think from the coaching perspective, especially creating these with clients, I think that it gives us in a way to help them be accountable to it and follow through. Whereas if we're really non-specific, sometimes you get a couple weeks into working with somebody, and then it's like, well, what have we accomplished? I have that with a couple of personal training clients where thinking back to when we started working together, I wish we had a measurable metric. So like some sort of physical, maybe their weight or their using body measurements, that kind of stuff, to look back on and see the progress that we've made.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's very true. It's from a coach's standpoint, it's extremely helpful because you do have that baseline. And you can go back and you can show to them, you started here and this is where you are now, which is very beneficial in coaching. So the next question is, it does take a lot of effort to assist another one in setting a SMART goal. So is it worth it? And I feel like we just barely said, yes, it is worth it. Yeah, because of those reasons. Okay, that's perfect.
Well, especially thinking about like people's motivation when they're working with a coach or working with a physical therapist or personal trainer or anything like that in their life. Like there's moments where you're not going to be motivated. And so being able to look at those changes and say like, okay, it is working. I'm doing something that's right.
Yeah, it's kind of the equivalent of like a progress picture, only it's like, actual data that they can see that it is working. They are making changes for sure, because people want to be able to look back and see that they're changing. If you don't see the immediate changes, you only see like once things start to really go into effect, and then it keeps people motivated to keep looking. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, that's perfect. So the last question of appreciative inquiry, what would you do if your client's spiritual beliefs prevent them from planning ahead further than just today? That's actually a very interesting question. If you have a coaching partner and they come in and say, oh, well, my religion doesn't allow us to make goals for the future, we just live with today. So how would you help them plan?
I think it's important as coaches to respect their religion, their morals, their values, absolutely. And I think that's the way that their religion is, and that we have to respect that, and we work with that. As you're there to guide their journey, and their journey wouldn't have SMART goals, and that's fine. You can do other ways to help them stay on track than just SMART goals.
True.
That feels so challenging.
Or some, I think I was thinking about, okay, if they're not able to plan for the future, maybe like the mini lesson, the micro lesson that we did, where you really learn to be in the present. That might be a good way for them to still reach their goals, is by practicing that mindfulness, practicing that being in the present. That might be something that you could look at with them.
Absolutely.
So that's an interesting question, because I hadn't thought of it before. Very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never heard of that. So that's something that's good to know, that could be something that you're presented with as a coach.
Yeah. All right, then. So how are we on time, Lorna, for
we are
setting?
Currently about 17 minutes in.
Okay, so we can move into the actual discussion group we'll start with the discover. So this is where we share tales of strength. So as we did that micro lesson and thinking back on your week, what are your insights in reviewing the case study? What stands out in this case study? What part of it resonates with you, and why? I guess, is kind of the first questions we can get started with.
Yeah.
I feel like this week, actually, like thinking about just starting this class specifically and the amount of effort and work that is going to go into it and keeping myself on track, I feel like starting with SMART goals was actually very helpful for me to give me that focus and that kind of planning for how I move through my assignments. I also really liked from Levelhead the focus and attention. I felt like um, it was I'm at a loss for words. I felt like it was incredibly focusing, which is the intention of it, obviously. But I felt like it was very um, poignant, is the word I'm trying to think of. Very poignant for what we're going through in this class because it feels like there are a lot of details. And so being able to hone and focus what I'm working on, give my attention in the moment, and then allow that work to walk away, for me to walk away from that work for a little bit.
Oh, that's really good. So that was your strength this week, was to be able to, just kind of plan ahead and take that time away from it for a while so that you could regroup for the next week.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. I think I had similar experience this week. Because of this class, I realized, oh my goodness, it's just so much coming at me so fast, so quickly, that it will be important to stay just, okay, what is important now? Not in 3 weeks, but what's important now, so that you can kind of compartmentalize and not have that big picture just looming over you so much. Break it down into the week. I kept telling myself that, Camilla, break it down into what do I have to do today? And then I'll worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
A question from this area that I really felt like I had a good answer to is the question of, after completing this week's assigned Levelhead Learning Thrive micro lessons, what is emerging? What specific activity did you use in this case study? So the Levelhead activity that I think could be used really well in the SMART goals case study was the breaking habits one, where it was talking about, the way to break habits using like the if then kind of thing, was really good for being able to create SMART goals, because it's something like along the lines, I kind of had written it down so I could have had it in my head. Like instead of saying, like it said in the micro lesson, it was talking about how you kind of think about the if then, like what are your triggers? Like your trigger could be, every time I sit down and watch TV, I snack all night. And that's something, the habit you want to stop doing, and you figure out that trigger is watching TV at night. So it's something like, if I stop watching TV at night, then I won't snack at night, kind of thing. And I think that's a really good way of figuring out what your goal is and how you can create that goal into a SMART goal. Because then at that point, you could create something along the lines of, every night I will read before going to bed, and then instead of watching TV, replace it with reading, and then you're not going to snack. So I think that activity was a really good activity that really relates to the case study.
That's true. That really relates to it. That's awesome. For relating to creating SMART goals out of something that you realized through being present in that moment.
Yes, through that mindfulness presence practice. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good. So how about relating to you as a coach? Do any of you, either of you, feel like your thinking has changed a little bit, so that you're like, oh, okay, when I'm as that coach in that coaching position, I'm going to do this differently? Did you have anything like that happen while you were doing that Levelhead?
Absolutely. I mean, there was, I thought there was actually several good Levelheads this week. One of them was the breaking habits. I think that one's actually 100% useful as a coach. Those are all things that we've already been learning in this course, and, to help people create those behavior changes, the small little habits that you can figure out how to break those habits. So I thought that was a great one. I also really thought the refocusing one was really helpful, because I do notice that I will go from task to task and like, I'm not mindful while I'm doing it. I'm just kind of going through the motions, and I know that it's very helpful to kind of recenter and refocus and get in that mindfulness as a coach. So I think that one's really, really useful.
I would agree with the refocus one. I was thinking about even like when we were working through the assignments, I found myself jumping from place to place all over the place. And then realizing like, no, take your time, go through this entire document, then this one, to try and find the pattern and find my focus in that. Whereas when I was doing it before and trying to jump between the different assignments that I had, I think it said in the refocus one talked about do 20 minutes of work and then switch to a different one and do 20 minutes that back and forth between them. So rather than trying to multitask, you're actually doing focused work in each of them.
That's a good point. I noticed with the focus and attention level head this week, when I sit down even to listen to a lecture, I will be like 5 minutes in and I realize, what in the world, I'm behind, I don't even know what she just talked about for the past few minutes. And so I'll have to go back and rewind it. And I think that focus and attention level head really helps me on a personal level. Okay, like keep myself here, I think about, that I need to clean my house, or I need to do the dishes, or I need to change the laundry. Well, okay, let that go for a minute and get back to the, to the lecture that I'm listening to. Otherwise I get to the end of the lecture and honestly, I'm like, I have no idea what she just talked about, let alone have notes to prepare me to take the concept quiz, So that's really good for me on a personal level.
Absolutely. Also, the multitasking one is very similar to kind of what you were talking about. Just as a culture, we have a tendency to try to do like a million things at once, and like our brains almost want to, like, you're just like, I could do this, well, I do this, but then you're really not focusing on one thing at all. Like you're focusing on so many different things that you're not putting that brain power into that one thing. So that is I thought that was a really good one. It's a good reminder. It's something that, we all just tend to do it automatically. We pick up our phone while we're doing something. We put on music while we're doing something. We read while we're doing something. It's just like we're doing too many things and we're not focusing enough on one thing. So I think that is really good to make sure that we're doing that as coaches, to put all of our attention on one thing and not trying to do a million things at once.
Sure. Yeah. All right, Lorna, how are we doing on time for
We are doing
Discover
good.
portion?
We are about 25 minutes in. So should we go to the dream section?
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so dream, co-create shared purpose. So based on this case and or level head activity, so this, the case study we just did of creating the SMART goals and the level head activity of the focus and attention, how would health and wellness coaches encourage each other to continue to develop their skills? So what do you have to say in encouragement to one of us? I probably would say, for me, I would say, like the things that we're helping other people with, just implement into our own life, because that will break down our own goals for us. That will help us to manage the different things on our plates. So just really practice what we're learning, practice what we're preaching to other people, I think is a good, and we can all do it because, we can help other people, so we can help ourselves, It's the same concept.
Agreed. I was going to say, I think that it's incredibly important for us as coaches to not just be giving the information to other people, but actually taking it into our lives and putting it into practice, because it gives us such a deeper understanding of the process that when we are coaching people, then we're able to say, this has been my experience, and I know that you're going to struggle here, and this is where it might be difficult. This is how we can work to overcome those obstacles. And I think just having that depth of knowledge really instills trust with our coaching partners in our abilities and our skills.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, great. All right, so then the next question, how would this week's information knowledge be easily, reliably, and repeatedly utilized? I think it's absolutely easily and readily utilized over and over and over, because it is the same concept. It doesn't change just because the goal changes. The process remains the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you said, like you was just saying, like practicing those skills over and over, it makes it easy, and it makes it something that you are continually repeating, and it just becomes easier and easier to use and to help use it for others as a coach. So it's something that you're like, I've been doing this and now it's something that's almost natural and it's easy for me to help you use it as well. And like the Levelhead app is great because it's something we're using and we're practicing the skills over that we've already been learning in course since, the last course. So it's something that's like really kind of ingraining it in the coaching process, I think.
Yeah, that's true. So what difference does having this make to the way you assist coaching partners on the way they are feeling, talking, and behaving? So how do we apply that to how they're feeling, talking, and behaving?
I think that just thinking about the focus and attention from the Levelhead app, thinking about when we're in conversation with our coaching partners, just paying attention to kind of their own body rhythms. And if they're picking up their phone, if their attention is somewhere else, if you can tell based on the conversation that they're having their own conversation in their head about maybe their day's tasks or what's going on with their kids, something with school, any of that kind of stuff, utilizing those kind of tactile cues from our partners and then saying, okay, I can tell that we're kind of unfocused. So maybe then bringing the Levelhead app not only into a practice for them in their external life, but even in the coaching session, say, let's do a focusing moment, let's do a breath work together so that we can bring our attention into this moment and spend quality time together.
Absolutely. And you guys know we are about 30 minutes in, so we can go to the design section. I'm good.
All right, so design, play to unlock potential. So what action will you take and when will it happen? So as we went through this focus and attention, did you have any of those moments when you're like, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it?
Absolutely. I thought there was several good of the Levelhead practices, but I thought one of them that I absolutely am going to practice is the name one, working on practicing people's names, because I'm really bad at remembering names. And I do the same thing. I really liked how it broke it down and explained what happens, how people tend to start thinking like they're thinking, well, I don't want to look dumb in this conversation, or I want to be prepared to talk or whatever. So you're thinking of all these things when they're saying, hey, my name is blah, blah. And then you don't hear it. You're just like in a completely different world in your head, thinking about all these things, or I should say this or whatever. And then your mind is everywhere else. And then you are not aware of person's name. So the skills that they mentioned in that one, I absolutely am planning on practicing that like now.
I think mine is a little bit more broad, just thinking about the use of the Levelhead app and those different meditations and stuff that are available in there. It's something I've been considering for a while in my daily practice of doing meditation in some way, but I really felt like it was something I wanted to implement in my life. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts that talk about people who are successful entrepreneurs and in their business life, and that they start each day with a meditative practice. And so taking the lessons that we learned from there and then applying it in my own life. In the mornings, I would like to just do some sort of meditation, either through the app or through my own focus.
That's awesome. So I kind of buffered out of there for a second. I don't know if you guys saw me disappear, but I'm back. Thank you. That's good. And those are very specific ways that you're taking action. That's awesome. So was there a specific Levelhead Learning to Thrive micro lesson that resonated with you? And that was actually, we kind of just answered that. At least Lorna just answered that with the names one. So she's definitely going to be doing the names one. I mentioned before, I was definitely thinking of the focus and attention one. Just keeping my mind where I'm at, keeping my mind in a lecture, in the coaching session, or whatever it is. And that's a big one for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-oh, did she freeze?
I think she did.
Well, we can continue on and then hopefully she'll jump back on here in a second.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the next question is, what impact do you hope it will have? Remember, big or small, every effort counts.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what it's saying, big or small. I mean, I think small changes at a time, I think, are the easiest. And that's the easiest to kind of hope for, and then you kind of hope for something bigger as it gets easier. So I think small is a good way to start. Maybe not too small. It's not something that's so easy that it's not kind of challenging you and helping you grow, but something that's still not so big that it feels like overwhelming and something you can't accomplish.
Yeah. I listened to a TED Talk one time with a guy that was talking about the reason we should take bite-sized pieces and not giant projects and giant efforts. And he talked about that in his own life, he implemented a plan that every time he went to the bathroom, before he would flush the toilet, he would get down and do one push-up because he wanted to be better at doing push-ups. And so he said, once you're on the floor, you're not really going to do just one and get back up. And he said, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But he said over time, it just became a habit. And so he got up to where he was doing 100 push-ups every time that he went to the bathroom, something like that.
Wow.
And then he would flush and wash his hands. But thinking about that, like tiny changes in our life that can make such a big impact in the long run.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So you guys just talked about one impact that you hope it will have, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I
We're
had
about
to bounce.
34 minutes.
Okay. So if we move to the collective collection area then, send a Levelhead sticker, use the Levelhead app journal, ask and offer. So that's the, let's see.
These are just things that we're going to be doing outside of the discussion. So afterwards, we'll go into the Levelhead app and take care of all those things.
Yeah, it's kind of like a way to kind of spread
give you a pat on the back.
Like, like, hey, good job. There you go. High five.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I haven't seen that that function of the app yet. So I will make sure and learn how to send a sticker. I'll send a sticker to you girls.
It's really cute.
Cool. Okay, so then the 3, 2, 1 wrap up. Reflect on at least 3 things the group learned. So what are 3 things we learned today?
I would say just being mindful. We all talked about how we all need to be more present and mindful. That's definitely one of them.
Yeah. I think go ahead, Heather.
No, I was going to say, go ahead.
I think that was the biggest thing for me that I learned was that mindfulness. My phone is a huge distraction for me, a time waster. So that was one thing that I really learned this week. I don't need to worry about my phone when I need to be focused on something else. They can wait.
Yeah. I learned about the SMART goals just for myself, that I tend to be more vague in my approach, and that giving myself some preciseness in what I'm going to be doing is really helpful.
Nice. Okay, so consider 2 activities group members plan to use. So what are 2 things that any of us plan to use?
The name thing and just being mindful.
Yep.
I'm going to use Levelhead meditation and like the mindfulness just in my daily in the morning, and then SMART goals just planning for my week, making those goals really specific.
Perfect. And then let's see, the 1 portion, that is share 1 thing that surprised us. So is there 1 thing that surprised us?
That's a good one. I don't know that I had anything specific that surprised me.
Or that encouraged a growth mindset is the other option.
Oh, yeah.
I would say just remembering that any little change, even small, is still change. And that is definitely encouraging a growth mindset to keep that mentality that even small changes are still changes, even if it's not, the end goal that you have. It's still on the way there.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Where did you find, Lorna, where did you find that? Or the growth mindset part?
It's in the same sentence. It said share 1 thing that surprised group members or that encouraged a growth mindset.
Oh.
I think for the growth mindset portion, I think that thinking about the specific SMART goals, but thinking about the group assignments, that I really had to have a growth mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really was
That's
like,
one.
okay, it's challenging and there's a purpose behind every challenge, right? So the amount of information that we're processing and learning from this class in order to work with our group assignments all comes into play in some way in coaching behavior in our coaches and coaching conversations later on. And so just that reminder to myself of, okay, you're learning. That's why it feels uncomfortable. You're learning.
Absolutely. That was a great one.
Yeah, that is a really good one.
What about you,
Okay.
Camilla?
I think just realizing that or relearning, that SMART goals are applicable to every aspect, and it doesn't have to end, okay, just because that 3-month goal ended or whatever, that you can continue now on to the next one for the next 3 months or the next week, and that really contributes to a growth mindset. So
Absolutely.
it was good. That's good. A good reminder for all of us, I think. So I don't know if I have a different case study summary template, but mine didn't have the growth mindset part on it. So does anyone else's have anything else that we need to cover? Because mine was finished at that point.
Nope, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So any other questions, comments, concerns from the group before we finish up?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
All right.
I just want to say this was a great first time working with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's going to be good. And so we'll continue to try and conversate through text message or email, the email that that Lorna set up for us, and can come up with the next time for the next case study, if that works for everybody.
Yeah,
Sounds
I believe
good.
our next assignment is in 2 weeks. I believe week 4, so we can
Okay.
schedule that outside.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.